Imu has access to 19 swords placed at the foot of Empty Throne back when the world government was founded. But here's the thing, in the last few chapters, we've already seen at least 5 of those blades in action, maybe more if you count Nemesis. And out of all of them, there's one that people can't stop talking about, one we've actually covered before on this channel. It's the blade that belongs to Nefertari family. Why does it matter so much? Because it's the one sword that's missing from the set. 20 founding families were supposed to place 20 swords at the foot of that throne, but there are only 19 down there. The Nefertari family sword was taken. Today we're digging into how this sword went from being a political symbol, or one family's decision, to potentially becoming one of the biggest pieces in this entire story. We're going to figure out why it might matter and where it could be hiding. So welcome back to Theory No Me. This is exactly the kind of topic I've been wondering ever since the newest chapter dropped, so let's get into it. And don't forget to drop your own theories in the comments below. I read every single one of them. And honestly, my video ideas come from the ideas that you guys bring down there. So let's start with the correction we need to make first. This correction comes from a very specific sword, one we have actually seen back in Imu's flower room during one of Imu's very first appearances. I think it's the second time we ever see this character. It looks like a saber, and Imu appears to be using it in that iconic scene everybody remembers, the one where Imu is going through the wanted posters and is staring down at Luffy, Blackbird, Shirahoshi, and Vivi. Imu sets the sword down, and then the attendant walks in and asks which light need to be extinguished. Now here's why people keep bringing the sword up. There are 19 swords where it needs to be 20, and the one that's missing is the Nefertari sword. So a lot of fans connected the dots and said that the sword in the flower room has to be the missing Nefertari blade. I want to be upfront. This was never confirmed anywhere. It's a fan theory, and honestly I don't think it holds up that well. If we think about it logically, if Imu had gotten their hands in that sword, why wouldn't it be sitting at the foot of the throne with the other 19? Nobody would have stopped Imu from putting it there, and on top of that, we have seen in the recent chapters that Imu can summon pretty much whatever sword that they want. That blade in the flower room could easily be one of the exact same weapons we see that's showing up right now in the story. Saying it's specifically Nefertari's sword carries about the same weight as saying it's Zebek's sword or Roger's sword, or in other words, the sword tied to the Ace or to the Eclipse. We just don't know. But here's the part that actually matters. This sword is not the part of the group of the 19. It was taken, and the fact that this sword were clearly important tells me the Nefertari blade specifically could be a big deal going forward. And it might actually explain Imu's whole obsession with Vivi. Because let's be real, Imu is fixated on this girl. The popular theory floating around is that Imu fell for Lily Nefertari, who looks exactly like Vivi and just wants her descendant close by. Simple as that. But there is a scene at Egghead, I think, that changes the read on all of this. Imu is sitting there thinking about how everything is going wrong in the world right now, how ever since people with the Will of D, especially Straw Hats, especially Luffy, set out on the journey, everything has started spiraling. And in the middle of all of that chaos, you know what Imu's biggest concern is? Getting Vivi brought to them. To me, that scene says Imu might genuinely be drawn to Vivi, sure, but there's also something Imu needs from her specifically. Maybe it's about finishing some kind of contract that never got completed with the Nefertari family generations ago. And right now we're watching Imu use actual physical objects tied to the 20 founding families. Imu's whole arsenal is built around these swords. Oda has already shown us several. The sword called Bohu, the sword called Fragarak, and the axe called Shintian. These weapons are absurdly powerful. Imu's made that clear. And we've also seen a version of them in the hands of Saint Saturn and Saint Killingham. But I want to zero in on the last two I mentioned. Fragarak specifically has this ability to drain life force. Oda shows us directly. There is a branch that gets completely drained on panel, and then Imu confirms it after diving the sword straight into Luffy's chest. And Shintian, the axe, comes wrapped in actual flames whenever we see it drawn. These aren't just fancy blades, they come with real distinct powers attached. So if we're asking why this missing Nefertari sword might matter so much to Imu, maybe it's because it has abilities, just as strong or even stronger than any of these other weapons. That would also explain the Vivi obsession and maybe turn this mystery into a genuinely important piece going forward. But how would you justify a sword being powerful enough that someone like Imu would care this much? A few possibilities. First, sword personalities. We've seen this play out plenty of times in One Piece, specifically with Wano with King and Zoro's blade, and even in Zoro's short flashback. Second, we could be looking at ancient technology, which we already know has more advanced than what exists today. But there's a third option, one Oda has been leaning on hard lately, and that is devil fruit weapons. Devil fruit weapons have been part of this story since Alabasta, and I'll circle back to Alabasta in a minute. But why are we suddenly seeing so many of them? Just look at Elbaf. In that one arc alone, we've roughly seen a third of every canonical devil fruit weapon in this entire series, and that's not a small number. We've got Shamrock's sword carrying the Cerebus fruit, and Ragnar's weapon carrying the Ratatoskar fruit. And now picture this, a devil fruit sword belonging to Emu. That would actually explain why Emu wants this blade back so badly, and why Emu wants Vivi so badly too. Maybe she's the one who can bring this sword back into the play. It would be the symbol of a contract that never got finished. And if we're talking about devil fruit sword, Oda could be setting up something even bigger, trying this whole thing into the concept of gods, something we've been hearing a ton about lately. Take Zaza, for example. We just found out that Zaza is Saint Killingham's biggest fear, revealed to be a rain goddess. That's a female figure, and every god we've encountered so far has come packaged inside a devil fruit. So what if this goddess is tied to an important woman from the past? And right now, the only major woman from the past we actually know about is Lily Nefertari. I've got a whole separate video on why I think Zaza connects directly to Nefertari's family, and that's where the Alabasta comes back into the picture. Rain is a massive theme in Alabasta, and we even get a backstory about the historic droughts and rainfall during the entire saga. Connecting those dots don't feel like a stretch to me at all. At the same time, turning Vivi into someone who suddenly awakens a devil fruit and becomes a fighter would feel a little bit off, especially since we've never once seen her actually fight. But handing her a sword that happens to contain a goddess, that feels like a more natural, more original direction for her character. We already know we're going to see more god-type evil fruits pop up, partly to shake things up. So imagine a weapon carrying a god-type fruit that searches for its perfect wielder. Kind of how Ragnar fruits work, where whoever eats the Nidhogg fruit becomes its match. In this case, the perfect wielder could be a member of Nefertari family. That would be huge. And it would also explain something else. Remember when Gunko said that everyone below the red line was originally meant to drown? A fruit like this could be the missing piece needed to finish what actually started back in the Void Century, flooding the entire world of One Piece. That would make Vivi an incredibly important character and an incredibly powerful one too, without ever making her personally stronger as a fighter. A weapon that fights on your behalf without turning you into some legendary warrior. We've actually seen that setup before with Nima and Acclimatakt. That kind of direction would honestly be an insane twist. Now let's step away from the god theory and the Zaza connection for a second and think about where this sword could actually be hiding. Option 1, Alabasta, or at least a hidden clue somewhere in Alabasta pointing where the sword is. This is the most logical guess since the Nefertari family has ruled Alabasta pretty much forever. Unlike the other 19 founding families, they never lost their throne. Alabasta also has the royal crypt. Maybe the sword is sitting right there. That said, if this were really the most obvious hiding spot, the world government probably would have founded it ages ago. But remember, Robin already read a phonoglyph that revealed the location of Pluton, and she didn't share that information with us readers until years later during Wano. Something similar could be sitting inside the phonoglyph Robin already read and just didn't think it was important at the time. Oda could bring it up back right now, especially with Robin translating Elbaf Ancient's text, revealing a ton of new information, and while, alongside, Emu pulling out all these swords out in the open. For the second option, I want to bring back a very popular fan theory tied to Lily. If Lily never actually made it back to Alabasta, and that lines up with what Cobra says, then the sword had to end up somewhere too. This can get complicated fast, because honestly it could be anywhere. But the theory I want to bring back up connects Lily disappearing in the island of Amazon Lily. Think about it. Amazon Lily is heavily protected, almost impossible for the world government to reach, sitting inside one of the calm belts. Lily could have taken shelter there. And even the names line up. Amazon Lily, Lily Nefertari. And it's an island of only women, which fits since Lily is a woman herself. There's probably a heartbreak involved too, something tied to Emu, maybe tied to Joy Boy, and that could be exactly what shaped the culture we see in Amazon Lily during its dedicated arc. And Amazon Lily hasn't disappeared from the story either. Remember when Blackbird assault on the island, and Boa Hancock trying to figure out what to do next? We will see how Oda plays this out. The last option I want to bring up involves Laugh-Tale. People love arguing about where Laugh-Tale actually sits, under the ocean, above it, on the moon, in the sky, inside the red line, in the calm belt. You name a theory, someone's pitched it. But it is a physical location, and some of you pointed out something genuinely interesting. This sword could technically be one piece of a much bigger collection, the same collection that makes up all of the 20 swords. I personally don't think the Nefertari sword is an actual One Piece treasure. I think when we finally see the One Piece, it's going to be made up of several different things, not just one single item. But the sword being one of those pieces, that wouldn't shock me. Look, we started this video with 19 swords sitting at the foot of the empty throne, and every theory we just went through is built on pretty limited evidence right now. But if Oda actually takes this story in the directions, it's going to be massive. Let me know which theory you're leaning towards more in the comments. Alabasta, Amazon Lily, Laugh Tale, or something else entirely. If you enjoyed breaking this down, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you in the next one. This has been Theory Theory No Me. Peace out.